Unbeknownst to me, today is Healing from Grief Day. Some of you may have been at the earlier service. And I have a story about grief that I want to share and healing from it. The problem with this story is there's so much more I want to say than I have time to say. So you're going to have to read the book or else invite me over for dinner. I'll tell you the whole story. Okay. So on July 13th of 2003, my very beautiful, brilliant, loving, and funny son did something that was not brilliant, funny, or loving. He put a gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. And it pretty much blew my life apart, as you might imagine. He's a really remarkable person. He blew all my stereotypes about suicides because he was genuinely heart-centered guy. He was very wonderful, and he was miserable, and he ended his life. This is not one of his funnier stunts, but it did get my attention. And if our children are our teachers, which I believe they are, he took me on a spiritual path that nothing else could have. There's so many chapters in this story, it was hard to choose one, but this is one that I think is particularly relevant. About 2 months after he died, I was a basket case, as you might imagine. And I was not only inundated with tsunami waves of guilt, but of grief, but of guilt that just would not go away. It was just toxic, horrible guilt, because I was his mother. I was supposed to keep this from happening, and it didn't. And I hadn't been a particularly good mother, okay? I've been a very troubled single parent, and a lot of mistakes were made. and he suffered for it. So I was inundated with guilt, and I was pretty much immobilized. I couldn't work or anything else. So I went to an art show with a friend. A friend took me to this art show, and I was surrounded by all this beauty and creativity and could not appreciate any of it until I came around a corner and I saw this painting, and it blew my mind. Now, it's relevant to share here that I was not a Christian, okay? In fact, my household was an atheist household where Jesus and God were literally dirty words, as in, Jesus Christ, stop doing that, God damn it. So I was completely blown away when I saw this painting, and it was a total surprise to me because I was witnessing the compassion of Christ and my son in the moment of his death. And somebody had known to paint that. And I was like, whoa. It says on the painting, not for sale. So I called the artist and I said, I know it's not for sale, but I need your painting. And she said, well, I have one print I'm willing to part with for $200. Well, I wasn't working. I didn't have $200. And I said, I don't have it. She said, but I would like to get the painting someday. And she said, well, can you cook? I said, well, yeah. She said, well, I have a show coming up. I need someone to cater it. You want to cater it? I'll give you the painting. She sensed that I needed this painting. So I did. I catered her show. And when I went to pick up the painting a couple of weeks later, I said to her, you know, all your other paintings are like landscapes and flowers and kind of neutral stuff. There's got to be a story behind this painting. She said, well, yeah. 8 years ago, my sister committed suicide. And this is the painting that came out of that experience for me. And she said, when my mother saw the painting, she said, oh, it's your sister. And when my other sister, who's a newborn ICU nurse, said, oh, it's a baby. And I said, well, I'm very sorry, but they're both mistaken. It's my son. She said, yes, it's whoever we need it to be. So I took it home, I put it on the wall, and every day I'd look at it. That's Mark, he's okay. He was received with compassion no matter what happened. This went on for a couple of months. I don't remember exactly how long it took. I was still suffering. I was doing my grief processing. I was going through the whole thing. And then one day, I looked at the painting and I said, oh, it's me. No matter what I did or didn't do, no matter how bad a mother I was, or any of the mistakes that I made, I too am received with compassion and love. And that day was the beginning of my healing from this incredible loss. Many other amazing things happened. I ended up on an airplane with Ram Dass. He read the whole story. He was like, blessing me and my son. All kinds of things happened, and it was an incredible journey. But there's one other brief episode I wanted to share with you. It was happened just about a month ago. A friend of mine, her husband died suddenly, mysteriously. They weren't talking about why, how, and our mutual friends were all suspecting that it was a suicide. And it was talked about, this terrible tragedy, and what a shame, and it was a shameful thing. And I heard myself saying, quite to my own surprise, it doesn't matter how he died. He was suffering. He wanted to leave, and he did. He might have left with a stroke, or a heart attack, or a car accident, or a gun. And it doesn't matter. And I realized, it was just a month ago that I realized my son was suffering, and he left. And it doesn't really matter how he left. It was an amazing insight for me, because to that point, his legacy had kind of been, well, he killed himself. And now his legacy is his whole amazing life. And the end of it was just the end. It doesn't matter. So I just love this painting. I have it on my wall at home. You're all welcome to come and see it. I just wanted to share with you the blessing that this piece of art and these insights have given me. And one other thing I want to say real quick. That guilt that I felt, I just realized recently in the whole process of processing this other guy's death, guilt is the ultimate ego trip. Because it's saying, I'm in control. I should have controlled this situation. And I can't control this situation. I can't change it. I can't control it. I can just try to learn to accept it. And the guilt has changed for me. It's not, I can't say it's 100% gone, but it's a different animal now. I can see it for the ego function that it is, or malfunction. Anyway, thank you.